Good news for all of you.
The UK courts have decided it is unlawful to send any refugees to Rwanda.
Is there anyone here who supports sending people to Rwanda?
Good on you.
That was the day when I was very happy that my fellow Africans and other people will not face what I faced.
Is Rwanda a safe third country for asylum seekers travelling to the United Kingdom to be sent whilst their applications are processed? Now, that question is proving to be a pivotal point in the United Kingdom's political discourse presently, after the UK Court of Appeal ruled that the United Kingdom's asylum plan was unlawful. The Conservative government of Rishi Sunak thought that he had popular support of the idea, and as we've just seen in that poll, it doesn't seem like there's much support at all. Well, if there is still some residual support from some sources, after you've heard this, I don't think there will be any support left. Just to recap, well, it was a split decision. Two justices of the Court of Appeal felt that Rwanda was not a safe third country, and one that it was. Well, they nevertheless all agreed that in principle there was nothing unlawful about the policy per se, only that in its implementation there was a risk that Rwanda might repatriate asylum seekers that the UK government sent to them back to the very countries from which they had fled. Well, let me just read some bullet points that the BBC has listed, which give a sense of where things are and where things are likely to lead. Rishi Sunak says he fundamentally disagrees with the ruling and the government will seek to challenge the decision and take it to the Supreme Court. Home Secretary Suella Braverman said she is determined to stick with the Rwandan policy and will be seeking leave to appeal today's ruling. The Rwandan government insisted it was one of the safest countries in the world and has been recognized for its exemplary treatment of refugees. Well, I'm a social worker from South Africa working with whistleblowers in Africa to provide psychosocial and spiritual support to them through the ordeal of retaliation that they face after they have disclosed wrongdoing. I have with me one of my clients who can directly, from his own lived experience, answer that pivotal question. Is Rwanda a safe country for asylum seekers? Biswick Tiyamaru Kaswaswa, he was on the news a few months ago when the Sentry released its report on deep-level corruption between the South Sudan government and Trinity Oil, based almost entirely on the revelations that Biswick shared whilst working as the financial manager for Trinity. His story is told in the video that I'm now putting a link to above this. I won't go into the details of it now. Well, the intersection of his story with the matter of the UK policy conundrum on what to do with the seemingly ever-increasing numbers of refugees is that Biswick has an inside view of what can happen to Africans in the hands of Rwandan authorities when they land at Kigali airport. He spent a month in Makakhere prison in Rwanda, effectively kidnapped by the authorities before he was illegally sent back to South Sudan. It was a rendition. So Tia, to lead viewers into your ordeal, tell us what was going through your head when you sent me the message 2 days ago that was I watching the news that the UK Court of Appeal had declared the asylum policy unlawful?
John, I would like to thank you again for giving me this opportunity to speak to you on this topic. I hope you remember when you were here in Malawi, when you visited me, you raised this issue about the UK policy on asylum seekers who are supposed to be sent to Rwanda.
I wish I'd had my camera on when I got your response. You were astonished.
And I remember that day I told you, what? People are supposed to be sent to Rwanda. I was very shocked because I think it was a decision that was made by those people who have never experienced what is happening in Rwanda. I have first-hand information I experienced a lot in Rwanda, and I wouldn't recommend asylum seeking in Rwanda. There are a number of reasons why. The good thing about it is that the judge clearly explained that Rwanda is not a safe country. And here I'll be elaborating the reasons why I think Rwanda is not a safe country based on my personal experience. So when I was sending you the message, that was the day when I was very happy that my fellow Africans and other people will not face what I faced. I was traveling to my embassy in Dar es Salaam to report what has been happening in Juba. I passed through Kigali. While I was about to connect my flight to Dar es Salaam, they called my name. 3 private officers came at around 7 p.m. One officer took my passport and told me, follow me. I found myself in the hands of the police outside the airport. They took me to Rwandan Investigation Bureau. They took my statement. A statement of arrest was issued without any evidence supporting for my arrest. I went to court. The judge made a decision to say, you will be detained for another 30 days in Mageregere Central Prison. I was detained there. I agreed with my lawyers to appeal the decision of the magistrate court. While we were waiting to have a chance of appeal, I was taken out of prison at night and extradited to Juba. When I was discussing with my lawyers in Rwanda, they told me that according to the Rwandan rules, you cannot be extradited without the court hearing and making an extradition decision. Secondly, even if there are other protocols or procedures to be followed apart from the court, Amnesty International, which was involved in my case, released a report which clearly stated that South Sudan was not a safe country. But the authorities bypassed all these and extradited to Juba illegally.
Now that's important because one of the key points of the judgment is that Rwanda might extradite people back to their countries where they had fled from. And then what then happened to you is that you found yourself back in Juba and end up spending 16 months in a Juba prison awaiting a court hearing, which eventually came and you were exonerated and you left. Hypothetically, if you were going to the UK and seeking asylum there, you would have been faced now with the prospect of being sent back to Rwanda. Now, how would you feel about being sent back to Rwanda given the experience you had there of that 1 month?
It's very bad. To me, who has experienced how I was treated by the Rwandan authorities, I would not even think twice. And I would have protested at the airport. And the whole airport would have known that there's this guy who doesn't want to go to Rwanda. The system may look good outside, but that's not what happens on the ground. Number one, the day when I was removed from the prison, I was removed at night around 10 o'clock, which was contrary to the rules of the correction services in Rwanda. And everybody was worried to say, what is going to happen to you? They are taking you at this hour. So it doesn't matter whether you are protected, but they have got always the way of getting someone. Can you imagine taking me at night at prison? What do you think was going through me? Okay. Number two, I was blocked at the main gate of the prison at Mageregere. My name was called inside to attend an appeal, but the prison authorities blocked me not to attend my appeal. And it was done twice. All this was being done to facilitate my illegal extradition, my illegal abduction, my kidnapping to Juba. The decision was there already by the court. While the prosecution should provide enough evidence, the judge had no enough evidence. Yes, and my lawyers were supposed to argue to say, okay, all right, gentlemen, there's no reason for you to detain this person. You do not have any evidence. Why can't you just keep this person in a safer place? You can take his passport while you are waiting for the investigation. But I was taken at night, and that was very bad. They ignored all the court processes. You know, the most painful thing was when I was passing through the airport, they removed all the cuffs. I was moving through the airport checkpoints as if I'm an innocent person. And worse still, the director of the Rwandan Investigation Bureau was the one that was involved in the whole process. We have the names, we have the documentation, we have everything to support what I'm talking about. There is nothing that we can hide. So, even if key authorities, key people are able to do this, what does it mean? It means that the policy is just a paper thing. But what's happening on the ground is something that is different. I know there are a lot of people in Rwandan prisons who are being persecuted, not only from Malawi, but from a lot of countries. I have that evidence because I witnessed, I saw that. So the reality is, it is not a safe country.
It could be argued that that was 5 years ago. That was 2018. What would you say to the British government if they said, but look, you know, we were well aware of the atrocities that used to happen. We are using this as an opportunity to get leverage so that at least the Rwandan government would start becoming a haven for people seeking protection from human rights violations. What would you say to that?
You are saying that this happened in 2018. We cannot hide the fact that even here in Malawi, we know that there are a number of people that are being taken from refugee camps going back to Rwanda. We have the evidence in relation to issues which happened years and years ago. So I can confidently tell you that if among the asylum seekers who have been brought to Rwanda today and have got issues with the Rwandan government and other people that are connected to the Rwandan government, whether in Malawi, in Sudan, South Sudan, Kenya, this will not stop Rwandan authorities doing what they did to me. Because this is what is happening on the ground right now.
Now, you're an accountant, you're an auditor. You look for checks and balances. Now, the amount of money that's being given already, I believe, to the Rwandan government to serve this purpose, which of course is a very attractive proposition for a country in Africa to suddenly have this huge aid package, essentially. Are there sufficient checks and balances in Rwandan governance systems to ensure that that money is not simply being taken and stolen?
John, let us go back to the fact that the policy is meant to deter people. The fact that the objective by the UK government is to say, okay, let us stop Africans and other nationals going to UK, because once they go to UK, they'll be sent to Rwanda. We can conclude that the logic, the objective is to deter someone to go to UK. That's the logic. So, obviously, it means that the money that has been sent will not achieve its objective, because every sent person will not even attempt to go there, because you have to go to Rwanda. So what does it mean? And I can confidently tell you on how many people have been sent to Rwanda now. Even though the money was given, the first flight was the one that was stopped. And with these legal proceedings, I doubt if the money that has been sent to Rwanda will be able to achieve its purpose. It will never achieve its purpose, because I believe and I've got so much confidence that the judges will not be able to say, let us send the people to Rwanda.
So what you are saying is that there's actually an ulterior agenda and motive in having Rwanda with the actual hidden intention of intimidating people and deterring them from even coming to Britain in the first place, knowing that they will get sent to Rwanda. I would guess that that's why people just thoroughly do not trust the actual motivation that's behind this. I get a sense that the British people are saying, No ways. This basically means that the British government's becoming more like the Rwandan one, rather than what we would like to think the opposite.
When you were asking me that question, I was thinking to say, okay, if the UK government had signed an agreement with the Malawian government, would it deter? The question is yes, because we've got poverty here, people are struggling to get jobs, we've got high levels of unemployment, there are no huge opportunities here. But if it was, for example, to say South Africa, do you think people would not be jumping into that opportunity?
Right.
People would jump.
Well, certainly 5 years ago, I'm not so sure now. I mean, one of our other whistleblower clients has had to leave the country, Ethel Williams, because he doesn't feel safe here either. That's partly the reason I'm making this bill. Fortunately, in South Africa, we do have a Bill of Rights and freedom of expression, which is why I can say these things. In terms of wrapping up, tell us a bit more about your current situation, because you've been successfully able to survive the retaliation that's been visited on you, but they don't know where you are because you're in hiding, so they can't get at you physically. But you are concerned that they are now developing a media smear campaign as another way of assassinating at least your character, if not your life. How can this particular broadcast, with all the sympathy we now have from the British people, to actually help ensure that we put a stop to this? Because governments are not going to do it. It seems ordinary citizens are going to have to take and rally.
John, the report that was issued by the Centre had a very big impact to the operations of Trinity Energy Ltd. That can be supported by the letter that they wrote to Trinity to the Centre, requesting Centre not to publish the report. So the impact is huge. When the report was issued, they resorted into character assassination. They know that I'm an individual who is brave and capable of being back to my feet, because I have experience, I've got academic exposure, so they know that the strategy is to destroy my career by publishing false stories. Still, they are engaging both local and international investigative journalists, the evidence we have, just to have a media campaign, destroy my character, so that I should be blacklisted everywhere and I should not have any other opportunity. So I believe that the people who hear my story will come in to assist me, because I cannot be in the safe house forever. I have to work, I have to study, I have to support my children, and I have also to achieve my goals as well. I don't need to be stagnant because I'm a whistleblower. I have also some other goals to achieve. And I should be reintegrated into the society, because at the end of the day, I cannot be in this confinement forever.
I don't know how British legal system and whether it's possible for further evidence to be produced. This case is now going to go to their Supreme Court and be decided finally there. Would you be willing to swear an affidavit that basically documents under oath what you've shared with me now, as a contribution to ensuring that people really understand, and that the Supreme Court of Appeal hopefully will be able to come to a mature decision, but more importantly, that the British government would rethink its approach, because it looks to me like they're in for a hiding for nothing in terms of public perception about what really lies behind this thing. Would you be willing to do an affidavit?
Yes, I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to do that, because what I'm saying has got supporting documentation. I have the records. I spent in Mageregere prison. I have that. The information that I was taken out of prison at night, I have that evidence. And I'm ready to have a sworn affidavit, and I'm ready, even if it is necessary to appear in the court, I'm ready to be there to submit the information.
Good. Anything more you'd like to say, Tia, before I wrap up?
What I can say is the system that is in the Rwandan government is a system that is very good on paper. But what is on the ground is not what is on the paper. They have got very good laws that can give you confidence, that can give you hope of fair justice, but it does not happen like that. It's totally different.
Thank you.
Hence, I support the decision of the court that people can be persecuted once they go to Rwanda. Thank you very much, John, for sparing your time. And I do not take this for granted. You have been very supportive, and keep on supporting us. Your help is really appreciated.
Well, guys, there you have it. People ask me, why do I do this sort of work? I said, because I meet people like Biswick Kaswaswa, who just continue to bowl me over their integrity. And it's just such a privilege in my latter part of my career as a social worker to be able to be there of support to them. But one thought which comes to mind, I think it was Yogi Berra who said, in theory, there ought not to be any difference between theory and practice. But in practice, there always is. A policy is only as good as its implementation on the ground. And what I would hope that this whole nasty, polarizing incident will do, it could become a catalyst for a different approach to policy making, one which actually seeks to transcend the narrow binaries and starts looking at the things in a larger context. And I'm so indebted to my time in the UK, studying at Oxford, and the people that I now know who have been helping form my understanding and consciousness to empower me to do the job that I do in South Africa. And I'd want to repay the compliment and say, I hope that this story and this contribution will be taken in the spirit of not trying to meddle in British politics and internal affairs, because it's not by no means just an internal affair. It's about a story that is playing out so many places around the world, of displaced peoples, of human rights losing all sense of meaning, and of a world that's really in very, very serious crisis. However, people like Biswick and all the other whistleblowers that I work with are the people that we need to start giving more of a platform to, so that we can start thinking with our whole brains, with the full sense of what is really happening, rather than in a very narrow reductionist way in which I fear that so much policy making does. So thank you, and please subscribe to my channel if you want to be kept up to date with further interesting stories that are coming out of Southern Africa. There are plenty still in the pipeline. We can then at least get some revenue coming in. Please share it. Please get some more and more views of it, because that's, at the moment, the only source of funding we have. Thank you so much.
Fairness of procedures.
Becoming that way, it's illegal. They want to stop the boat.
I want to live in England. I want safety in England.
We're delighted that the Court of Appeal agrees with us that Rwanda is not a safe third country. The Court of Appeal has ruled that removals to Rwanda cannot lawfully proceed until or unless these deficiencies in the Rwandan asylum system are remedied.